We are talking college basketball with former University of Tennessee star Mark Griffin. You'll hear him now through the end of college basketball season a lot on Friday afternoons in this time slot. Mark, I've made no secret. I would have fired Jerry Stackhouse Wednesday night after the game and given him all the time in the world that he needs to go play golf. That appears to be such a priority of his as head coach at Vandy. He ripped into Tyron Lawrence after the game very strongly, both in his post game and in his comments to the media. The truth of it is, whether Lawrence is deserving of it or not, that needs to be done in private.
Yeah.
I am interested that Jerry Stackhouse never blames himself for anything. It's always on the players. He's perfect. I'd have canned his butt Wednesday night. They had about 1,500 people. Memorial Gym has turned into a tomb. People know how I feel. I've been very open on this subject for a long time. This is his fifth year. This team sure as hell isn't going to an NCAA tournament. What really, Mark, you see it closer than I do from your time as an AAU coach. What's going on there?
Well, what I've witnessed, George, and this will be interesting for your followers to watch this either in person on TV. You know, the way Vanderbilt's memorial's set up, he's able to sit on a chair, by himself on an island. And even in the past, with the distinct advantage that Memorial Magic has, which is incredible in the past, which is gone now, and I think it's a shame. You don't see him conversing with his assistants during the game. Now, one might say, well, he's got his strategy. We plan beforehand. We know what we're wanting to do on the court, but you've got to have eyes and ears next to you to relate things in real time, because I don't care who you are, coach-wise, you can't see it all and think 3 plays ahead and situations ahead by yourself. Even the great ones have assistants to help them strategize, to make changes on the fly. And you see Coach Stackhouse right there on his own in his, suits and looks the part, but why not seek knowledge from the multiple staff members that you have? That's my first beef. And it's the only coach I've ever seen do that, George. And you have to look at the record and go, well, they're not performing. So what is it? And then when you're chewing out your number one player that thank God for Vanderbilt, he came back with, which would have been unbelievable to lose him, because you lost so many other key players from, like you said, the big upset over Kentucky. And then after that momentum from last season, you don't sign any top 100 players. You really don't have any transfers that are coming in that are making a huge difference. What do you have? You have a named coach who's not performing. Their schedule is horrible. They've not played any quad 1 games this season yet. They've had 2 huge losses that were quad 3. I think quad 3 losses. Maybe one was a quad 4 to Presbyterian at home.
Presbyterian is quad 14.
Yeah, that's right. And let's put this together. Let's wrap a bow around it. When you look at the net rankings, there's 362 teams, I believe. Vanderbilt's ranked 291. The closest SEC team, LSU, is like 171 or something. I mean, it's ridiculous. So they scheduled easy, not winning, not getting fans. People have got to quit stating that they're keeping them because of the money. I feel like you, George. I think you cut bait, you move on. Vanderbilt deserves better, and you've got coaches that would crawl to Nashville, Tennessee to sell in this city with the academic record, the history that Vanderbilt's had. It's a basketball dominant school. You got a lot to sell.
Well, you need a coach that recruits. I mean, that you talked about the talent level there, Mark. There's not enough. I know they got Tyron Lawrence and Ezra Manjon, hyped them up as one of the better backcourts, and they are a great backcourt. But there's nothing. They don't have anybody in the front court. They had a player suspended a couple of weeks ago, and that they couldn't afford, and you need a coach in here that can come in and get the city excited and recruit players to Vanderbilt. That they got Tyler Tanner from Brentwood Academy coming, but there just hasn't been any player high school wise that has been able to come in and make a huge impact. And that's the lifeblood of college basketball. I know the portal is huge too, but look over at Tennessee. You got Vescovy and Jordan James have been there, 5 years? I mean, fifth year guys. So there's just zero continuity, and you need a little bit of continuity in this age. I know the portal, right? Everybody's saying, continuity is not as important. Well, it still is, right? You still need some of that, and they don't have any of that.
No, and it's more than just the two guys. I mean, you have those two, that's it. But you had a lot more set up for success this season that was removed for reasons we will never know behind the scenes. And when you hear about confrontation and calling out a guy in public, makes you wonder what's going on in private. And it's just, I don't think the Vanderbilt student athletes on the basketball team are having a good time right now. I really don't. It's just miserable. Something needs to happen. And it's just a shame because Vanderbilt fans, I feel, deserve a winner with the history. And George was able, we're able to see that at your bowling event. You have a lot of the former Vanderbilt guys come in. Well, I can tell you this, George, if you continue this for many years and they're Stackhouse players, those guys aren't showing up at your bowling event. I don't feel they have that camaraderie and brotherhood that they're going to stick together, because most of them aren't going to play together but 1, maybe 2 years.
Mark, I don't pretend to know all the inner workings of Jerry Stackhouse. Frankly, I don't give a damn.
I don't either.
I'm completely disgusted by him. But a year ago, give the devil his due, he got Memorial Gym for about 3 weeks back to what I grew up in. And it was really fun. And the players were saying all the right things. We love playing for him, blah, blah, blah. And the minute the season was over, that appeared to be a bunch of bull. They all headed out.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm asking somebody who's more wired to it than I am. They leaving because of him?
Oh, I think no doubt. I think you go to university because of your coach. Yes, I mean, when I mentioned selling the city, that's a great attraction. But I think if you poll most student athletes will say they go to a school because of their coach and what their coach sells them. And that's opportunity to play and make a difference. You look at playing in the SEC, one of the better conferences, hadn't been so far this early season, but still a lot to offer in Nashville, a lot to offer on and off the court. And I definitely think that the reason, if you got the guys that left to tell you why, it's going to point to Coach Stackhouse. It is, because it's definitely not lack of opportunity to play, because you got to have depth, and there's not a lot of depth there. So the opportunity to play is pretty good.
Mark, clearly I've been a little bit of a smart aleck on this subject and, have said, let's go ahead and get rid of him now so it'll allow him more time for his holiday golf. But in all honesty, I don't see a work ethic in recruiting that's anywhere near what it needs to be. That, for me, is a huge problem. Yeah. I see very little relationship with the former players, who a lot of those guys are important to me because I grew up, with a lot of them, and it was cool that so many of them felt strongly enough about me to be at the bowling event. You were there.
Yeah.
So is there an advantage besides just getting him the hell out of Dodge? Is there an advantage to making a move now?
An advantage?
Yeah.
Wow. I don't see an advantage because who's going to step in unless you have a very strong interim coach on staff that could be a possibility to take over the reins. And George, I don't know this staff as well. You really can't go out and get anyone right now as well. So, as far as, the university going behind the scenes, checking to see who would be interested, is it going to matter if it happens next week or March? I don't really see the advantage of it. It's pretty much dead man walking to me. And then building up the coaching resume and extra time spent on doing some behind the scenes. And I know that people may have this no contact rule from within, but coaches are going to be contacted. They're going to know what's moving, what's open, and they'll be making contact with people to see who's interested. And I just feel it has to happen. And I just don't see Vanderbilt going to a postseason tournament, having even a run in the tournament with two really good guards. I just don't see that. I think there's too much that you can take away from this team. Now, mind you, will Vanderbilt upset some teams in the SEC? I definitely think there'll be a few games where there will be upsets. Will Vanderbilt have a 500 record in the SEC? I would bet you not.
Okay, one more thing on that front. To me, 4 wins in the conference is about the most I see. Very good guard play, a bunch of junk up front that wouldn't win a Green Hills Y 4-on-4 run and shoot. I know. I didn't win any of those either. So yeah, they're bound to be some wins, but not enough. And certainly the crowd erosion really bothers me. That's the thing that is just irking the hell out of me.
Well,
now,
Mark, if I don't know if you'll have a chance to go to a game there this year, but I recommend you to out of morbid curiosity. I think that's kind of where maybe if it's Tennessee. But yeah, I mean, just to see it, I'm there most games and just kind of walking around. It's really eerie and strange to see a place that had so much passion and so much buzz, especially for even non-conference home games. I mean, the fans cared. The care level is just not there anymore.
Mark, I made the comment that I thought both Belmont and Lipscomb would beat Vandy soundly on a neutral site. Do you think that's a fair assumption?
I think it's a fair assumption and a good possibility. Neutral site, competitive. You play at Lipscomb, at Belmont. I think it's a fighter's chance that either of those teams beat Vanderbilt. I really do. And it's, you hate to even have to go there and mention Lipscomb and Belmont, but that's kind of where you are. And when you have the recruiting budget, the means, the history, and if you go on any of the chat boards or you're checking these guys, these student athletes that are in high school, their top 5 teams that they're looking at or that you're even talking about, no one's talking about them because there's not any guys showing up that I'm hearing, George, on a regular basis that are guys that are going to be what we consider game changers. It's one thing to go and get a scholarship even to the SEC, but the thing that I hear, and even in the coaching world and travel ball, is this person a game changer, or a difference maker? It's more than just filling a slot, being the 10th man. And I don't know if Vanderbilt has many guys they're on board with right now. And if they're not this year, when's it going to happen under his tutelage? I just don't see it happening, George.